Welcome back to action from round one of the Rotax Max Challenge here in Cape Town. It's round one of this championship, and great to see a new initiative this season. Max 175s for guys over the age of 32 and just over 85 kilos in weight.
The Max 175 is a new addition as well. It is, let's call it a heavy senior max class, pitched at the guys who are slightly older and heavier. You have to be either over 32 years old or weigh more than 85 kilos in your shorts to race in Max 175. Non-gearbox class, unlike the DD2. So it's got no gears and only rear brakes, but fantastic fun, pure racing. Only 6 karts starting today, but it's the first time that we're running them separately, and I believe by the end of the year we'll have double or more in that class. People to watch, I guess, 2 big names again doubling up is Michael Stephen and Nick Verheul, Jono Pieterse. So you've got some seriously accomplished drivers in the front of that one too.
Seriously accomplished drivers for Hell ahead of Pieterse, Michael Stephen, Erwin Stern, Jeff Stephen and Jared Jordan make up the top 6 here for qualifying. Let's catch up with Michael Stephen and find out what he thinks of this new
pole position's great in this new class. I remember when I started karting about 16 years ago, the Max 175 class was around, so I guess it's a re-established class, catering for the older guys, the heavier guys. It's a lot of fun. Inspired this year, my son started racing. It's in the Bambino class, so yes, we're very busy. But all focusing on racing.
175 immediately brings out masters like Michael Stephen and Jono Pieterse right there on your back bumper.
Yeah, the Max 175 is offering a ticket to the grand final this year, the winner of the national championship. So we're all kind of doubling up our odds to grab that ticket. Senior Max is a very nice car to drive. It's not so physical on the body. DD2s are quite hard, so adding the Senior Max to the thing is not so bad on your body.
Knowing that you've got Jono Pieterse and Michael behind you, but 2 of them had a great season last year. Is that going to worry you? Are you going to? And the new circuit here, the surface, how is that playing into your plan for the weekend?
Having Jono and Michael behind me doesn't bother me at all. Been racing with them for a long time now. We all respect each other on the track. It's great to race with them. Yes, they're going very well. I'm also going pretty well, so I'm not too phased. The new circuit is lovely. I haven't driven on so much grip for a while now. The new circuit is very flat. There's a few bumps, but nothing to worry about. Really awesome.
And the one thing with Michael is you better sort him out this weekend, because when you go to PE in a month's time, nobody beats him at PE.
PE is his home track, yes. We haven't been there for 5 years, so we're going to go and do a race there next weekend. They got a race on Saturday. I'll go and test the waters before we go do the national. But yeah, again, we all help each other, and it's quite nice. Michael will give me some information. I'm helping him this weekend in the DD2 Masters, so it's a nice camaraderie-ship.
Yeah, the plan is obviously to try and qualify for the World Finals. That's the ultimate plan. But
go back to Sano and hope it's dry.
Yeah, dry. Yeah. But yeah, I'll just have some fun, and with the weight category, it's so high. So we're gonna try and at least we get our own race now, and we don't have to race the youngsters. So yeah, it might make a bit of a cleaner race for us, and see what we can do from there.
In 175, Nick is on pole. You're right there in front of him. Michael behind you last year in Cape Town. Michael and you had an epic duel. So is that the plan for this 175? Keep Michael behind?
Oh yeah, definitely. If we can keep Nick behind, we'll go for it. So our session pace is quite good. So hopefully the race pace is good. So we'll see. Yeah.
The new surface here in Cape Town?
I think it's fantastic. It's really brought the track to its own. It's made it a lot more fun. It's kind of taken the local knowledge away a bit, so it's even the playing field, shall I say. But yeah, generally I think it's fantastic.
Max 175, a new class for masters, basically. What's your opinion about that?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. It just gives the older guys and slightly heavier guys, a chance to compete. And the youngsters now are really so fast. It's almost without spending the time and the effort at the circuit, really difficult to compete. But I think it's fantastic, both in the DD2 and in the 175s. and I'm sure the class can only grow from strength to strength. And yeah, so far I'm having a good time. I don't think I've driven a senior max since probably 2002, so to qualify third, 0.2 of the pace, hopefully we'll find a bit more pace tomorrow.
It really is the lineup now for the first Max 175 race of the season, and the first one here in South Africa. And you can see that it looks like there's going to be a little bit of fun and games at the front end there. I'd keep an eye on Michael Steven coming from that front row, see if he can make a plan. But it's going to be a bit of a tough ask here with 6 drivers, but already, Carl, I believe 6 or 7 drivers for the next round, and possibly up to about 15 drivers by the time we get to round 3.
No, it's an amazing class. I mean, the top 4 here out of the 6 of them have all visited the World Finals previously. So Erwin Stern even been in the DD2 Masters category as well. Jonathan Peterson, DD2 Master visitor, he's been there 3-4 times. Michael Stevens running the front of many a World Final, and so is Nick Verheul. As Nick Verheul makes an amazing start and starts breaking away. But like I said previously, you can't break away at a circuit like this with the draft down the back straight. No. And the faster the kart, the bigger the draft.
Yeah, exactly. And then look at the way that they're having to use each other as well to try and get that draft. You can see Michael Steven just losing out there ever so slightly as they came through there. The 3-1-3 of Jonathan Peterson starting to make his way to the front end. The Tony Kart man definitely wants to catch the CRG out front. And Verheul looks over the shoulder just to see where everybody is.
Verheul been competing in the normal senior match class in Joburg, and he's been the one to beat at the regionals recently. But let's see if his pace carries over to here in Cape Town in the Max 175.
There's definitely no 327 out there, so I think what do they say, over 85 kilos, I might just be able to fit into one of these.
Yeah, I'm definitely keen to join the PE. I think it'll be a great race. I might just come and cause a little bit of havoc because I haven't done the first round.
That's fine. Prep 2 karts and let's do it, okay?
Done.
It's on. Look out, Michael Steven. And Jeff Steven, just because your name's Steven doesn't mean you can just fight at the front end of any race. But it is great to have Michael's cousin involved in this race as well. He's having a good time of it. And slowly but surely making his way to the front end. Although he's fighting with Jared Jordan at the moment. Let's see what happens at the latter part of race 1.
That blue kart of Michael Steven just putting me off there. I'm used to seeing him in a black engine extreme, not a blue VW kart, but good to see him there in third place, catching up onto Jonathan Peterson. But Nick Verheul just seems to have the pace at the moment on these 3.
Yeah, it's great to see this. This is probably a class that I need a little bit more information on. And of course, you've been at the front end of this. Do these guys run gears, or is it an ungeared kart? What happens with these guys?
No, it's a straight drive, single gear kart. Uses a triple clutch, so it runs a chain and sprocket. Chain and sprocket open to them, they can change and do as they want. So you have to be quite in tune with the karts and quite in tune with what you're doing with the grey shows and your jetting. And as we say that, Jonathan Peterson catching onto the back of Nick Verheul at the moment, definitely getting close to him. These boys actually racing 2 classes, the front 3 racing in both this and DD2 Masters.
Yeah, so it's good to see them chopping and changing. Probably just a bit of a warm-up here for them to get up to speed with what track conditions are like, what the ambient temperature is like, and that might just help them out to set up their DD2s for a bit later on. But they keep chopping and changing, and Michael Steven just waiting for a mistake here. He's now on the tail piece there. Peterson's at the front, Verheul into second.
Yeah, Peterson caught very quickly there, so Michael needs to be clever, get past Nick, and get onto the back of him just in case he does have the pace to break away from Nick.
This is really good to see, and as you said, point and squirt, get into the karts, get them set up, and away you go. And have this kind of race action. And just behind that, don't take away from Erwin Stern and Jeff Steven on the kind of little battle that's raging there for 4 and 5. Looks like Jared Jordan might have just lost a little bit of the toe there in the background. So let's keep an eye on whether he can maybe make up a little bit of ground and hopefully catch onto the back end of the second 3.
Jonathan Peterson there showing his pace, especially through turn 1. Michael Steven now getting past into the first 180 on Nick Verheul and now putting the hammer down to catch onto the back of Jonathan Peterson. Nick had the early pace, so maybe tire pressures came into play here. Maybe he ran a little bit too hard and now he's overcooked the tires and can't manage the pace of these guys.
He's looking down at something. There's definitely an issue on the kart as he looks down at the engine box there to find out what the issue might be. He's going to be caught there if he's not careful by Erwin. Erwin's not too far off the back end of him. Looks like he seems to have sorted out whatever the issue was and just had a quick squiz there. Now puts his head down and tries to close the gap once again on Steven. Steven doing the same thing there to try and close on Peterson.
What I've just noticed now is that the radiator flap keeps dropping down and he's having to lift it up. So when he's not paying attention to the radiator, the engine's starting to overheat and he's having to open the flap again.
Okay, so that's the issue that's spotted well here by my man who's got a little bit more information on that kind of an issue than I do. I was just looking at going, no, he's slowing down. Maybe he's got a puncture. I don't know. But well picked up there, Carl. And look at that. Erwin Stern now starting to put on the pressure, and he's putting on the pressure big time on Verheul. As Verheul looks down that back straight away, he's not looking down the straight, he's actually looking down at his kart to try and sort out that issue with the radiator flap.
Yeah, it's amazing how 2 bolts can just end your race or cause you havoc throughout a weekend. But Erwin Stern and Nick Verheul traveling down here together. 2 weeks ago they came down and test. Nick, the sort of guy that raced here 2 weeks ago, climbed on his bicycle and did the Argus the very next day.
That's the way to do it. Nicely done. So he's going for like the trifecta there. He's probably going to do the Ironman when we get to PE.
Racing 2 classes and then go do an Ironman. Nick is the guy that would do that, though.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, let's see if he's able to keep off the attentions there of his fellow CRG pilots. And Owen Stern, I think, is looking to capitalize on the slight misfortune there of Nick Verheul. In fact, speaking of slight misfortune, you don't want to do that if you're going to be going off-road, Owen. Stay on the black stuff, buddy. They've put new tar down here. Use it.
That's allowed Jeff Stevens just get onto the back of them now. So I think we got a bit of a dice here between Jeff Stevens and Owen Stern. Jared Jordan just hanging around there in the background, hoping that these two trip over each other and he can gain a couple of places.
Yeah, I think he's too far off, unfortunately, to try and make that maneuver stick. And a couple of laps to go for these guys. Great to see. 15 laps of action in total for them, so it's a lot of laps out there on the track. And taking into account that they're not only going to do this, but also DD2 Masters a bit later on, these guys are going to start to feel the effects of it. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, Nick Vale making the choice to do the DD2 Juniors classes, not DD2 Masters, trying to get a little bit more experience in that class. I mean, the racing we know in DD2 is unbelievable. Not to take anything away from the Masters class there.
Yeah, that's for sure. Look out for that action here on Facebook as well. And on YouTube, we're going to be putting out all the action from this weekend. And you'll be able to pick up on every single one of the categories that raced here in Cape Town at round 1 of the Rotax South African Championship. They come through the S-bend now to complete another lap, and Jeff Steven is right there. Jeff looks like he might just be able to run the same kind of pace as Erwin. So those two are going to be fighting hard just behind Verheul. And if Verheul is not able to sort that problem out, we might have a 3-way battle for what is now 3rd place.
A little bit of a mistake there from Jonathan Peterson, but he seemed to have gotten away with it through the first and second 180s. Michael hungry to get onto the back of him. They've been racing hammer and tongs this whole heat, but he's just managed to keep a 2 to 3 car length gap there on Michael Stevens.
So it might be enough just to maintain, but Michael Stevens definitely not going to make it easy for him. If you want somebody who knows what to do in a go-kart, there's no doubt about it that Michael Stevens is certainly a man you want in your team and in your squad, and definitely, considering the fact that he's running in those Volkswagen Racing Academy colours, a man to teach the future of the sport what to do. First of all in a kart, then in a single-seater, and potentially into a saloon car as well.
100%. I've learned a lot from this man, and he's doing very well here in this Max 175 class. As we see Erwin Stern and Jeff Stevens getting onto the back, and Nick Verheul again there, looking for a way down into the first one. He's just not close enough for anybody to make a move there, but it's definitely getting heated here for 3rd place.
This 3rd place battle, definitely the one you've got to be watching out for. That's why our cameramen have gone back to pick up on it. Jeff Stevens just biding his time, waiting for a chance, and maybe waiting to pick up the pieces, because he knows, he can see there's an issue there on Verheul's kart, and Verheul would not be here. He'd probably be a little bit further up fighting with the top two there, Peterson and Steven, but right now he's having to just settle for 3rd. And by settling for 3rd, he's also having to battle for 3rd with 2 contenders he probably wouldn't have fought with as harshly and as hard as what he's doing right now.
As you see now into turn 1, you can see Nick Vale just gets a little bit on them as they come out of that chicane, that pit chicane. The pit chicane here at Cape Town, very, very tricky to handle. So he's obviously just got a little bit more pace through there on these two, but as they get into the tighter section, they climb right back all over him. So there could be a tooth different between the 2 karts here that is just giving one top end and one bottom end.
Amazing. That can make such a big difference. And incredible. There's a move from Steven. Steven Dobbs on the inside, coming out though of the 180s and down the back straight. He looks like he might have a go here. Oh, just had to back out there. He probably could have got a little bit more physical in and made the maneuver stick, but I think it's a little bit too far to go in this first heat to make that kind of maneuver. Maybe that's just a sighter for later on.
Yeah, golf club's a sort of corner that ends in tears when you start making contact as you go into the first right-hander there. So Jeff wise to it and rather just back off to fight another day. He looks like he could have a move going out for the first 180. He's gotten out of the turn 1 very nicely. You can make a lunge on the brakes. Ooh, had a look, just not close enough though. Not close enough or not brave enough.
Yeah, maybe not late enough on the brakes either, because he definitely pulled out same time as the man in front and just wasn't able to make it through there on Erwin Stern. But Stern saw him coming, I think, and also just placed his cart just ever so slightly to the right-hand side of that corner, so didn't really have the maneuver. There you go, a little bit of help from the back as they're starting to now start to get into the thick of it, big time.
Yeah, Jeff, he's going to get past here and take this 4th place from Erwin Stern. Get in between the sandwich of the CRGs, become the meat in the sandwich, I suppose.
So not a bad place to be. The little fight between him and Stern is slowing them up, and it's allowing Verheul just to maintain 3rd and open up a bit of a breathing gap between himself and these 2 that are fighting behind.
Yeah, 15 laps is a long race to do in these karts, especially considering how smooth you have to be. There's no gears to help you out if you make a mistake. You make a mistake, it's going to take you a while to come back from it. As we see Jeff just get a little bit wide there and lose 2 kart lengths on Erwin Stern.
And coming into the closing stages, and in fact into the final lap. Pretty plain sailing in the end here for the Tony Kart man. Jonathan Peterson has done it pretty easily across the line. He looked back a couple of seconds back, in fact, 4.5 of them before we see Michael Steven come across the line. But I think Michael Steven might have just backed out of it ever so slightly, knowing that he's got 6 races to do today. Verheul comes through for third, managing to keep out Owen Stern and Jeff Stephen, and Jared Jordan in 6th place.
We've put the hard work in, so hopefully we can set our intention, and set the pace, and hopefully, finish a job off later.
You basically told Michael Stephen, you want to come and race with me, you better come hard because this is mine.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, everyone on the field is capable of winning, but it's the amount of work you put in, and it's nice just to see for the team and myself that the hard work's paying off.
Looking at yesterday, though, we certainly closed the gap. The first couple of laps sort of hanging there with him, and then probably 5 laps to go, realised our pace was very similar, wouldn't catch him, so just backed off, saved my tyres for race 2 and 3. So we're making some big changes here now, so hopefully the next race we can go and fetch him.
I like those kind of words coming out of Michael Stephen. Go and fetch him. That's fighting words. Race 2, 15 laps of action. Michael Stephen looking to go and fetch him. Yet to try and find 4.5 seconds after the defeat in race number 1. Let's see if he's able to do that with those changes that have been made to the kart now as they head down towards turn 1. In the lanes. Great start, and shouldn't be too much of an issue for these guys. They all know the rules on what to do. And Michael Stephen, oh, what a start! Jumps to the front, gets the whole shot, and thank you very much. He has demoted Jonathan Peterson down into 2nd place, and already some big attention's being shown there from Verheul for 3rd place onto the 2nd place man.
Yeah, a lot of movement there between Peterson and Nick Verheul. They're actually just slowing themselves down. Peterson running wide out of the second 180, and Nick just getting a drive on him to run past him before the chicane. If anybody can make changes between heats and go faster, it's Michael Stevens. He's been doing it for many years in many different classes. So whatever he's done there seemed to work, and he definitely wasn't sleeping on the start. But Nick Verheul also hungry to get onto the back of his fellow CRG driver as they head through now into the pitch chicane, one of the hardest parts of the circuit. And Jonathan Peterson just a little bit unsettled after that start. Pole to 3rd. That'll unsettle anybody.
No, I think he's got to just catch his breath, get the rhythm going again. He's done that already and already starting to apply the pressure there onto the back end. But Owen Stern is not making it easy for him. He's now putting the pressure onto the Tony kart. So it looks like he's trying to help out the 2 CRGs that are in front there and just make Peterson's day a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, Nick Verheul making a mistake there into turn 1 and pushing Peterson into the back of Owen Stern, but they've caught on to Michael Stevens quite quickly down that back straight. Obviously a massive headwind on this lap, so Michael Stevens, being the lone duck out on his own there in the front, brought these 2 back onto him.
Now 3-way battle, make it 4-way battle as Stern is not too far off the back end. Jeff Stephen just got to bridge that gap ever so slightly. We'll try and make up a little bit of ground there for what is now 5th place on track. And Jared Jordan just not able to find the pace just yet. Oh, what a move there from
showing
Verheul.
the back wheel.
Take that, but unfortunately that back wheel sliding out cost him. He could have made it stick, but here comes Peterson. Peter's going to do the inside. Oh, Peterson drifting into the 180s, and he makes it stick, but Michael Stephen comes straight back at him. Stephen will probably just force him ever so slightly wide, then try and come back on Verheul. Verheul saw that coming and dive through to take the lead.
Yeah, there's no punches being pulled here in the front. Everybody just showing the back wheel there as they come past, trying to make it happen as early as possible and try and get a gap, but that's not going to happen with these 3.
There's only 5 karts in the front end of this battle. Can you imagine if we had a full field of karts here? And by the sound of things, when we get to PE, there's going to be 11 of them. So 11 of these oaks trying this kind of maneuvering is going to prove to be a very good decision to have 175s as a national category.
Yeah, definitely get the guys back into the sport that have been out for a little bit, get the old Whitey Foxes back and show the youngsters how it's done.
Oh, sliding into the 180s. Verheul is having some fun at the front end, maybe just showboating a bit there to Michael Stevens, saying, yeah, I got through on you so nicely and you still haven't found an answer just yet. I thought you were going to go and fetch me. Now, I fetched Peterson, but he hasn't been able to get onto Verheul just yet. And now, as I say that, it might change into the very, very tricky right-hand into Golf Club, and he's made it stick. He's got through there. Michael Stephen has got through. We just saw it in the front part of the shot. And no, he hasn't. He's had it come back at him. Can you believe that? Verheul had him for a little while side by side. It looked like Stephen had got it all sorted out. Where are you going? That is some maneuvering there from Owen Stern. That's the 3rd time he's gone grass tracking. And that's cost Peterson some big time.
He pays an entry fee to use the whole circuit, but I think it's just the tar that he pays for. He doesn't need to use the grass as well.
Peterson's saying the same thing. He says, thanks for the face full of roost, bud. Didn't need that. But Jonathan Peterson now has got to get his head down because he's allowed, with that maneuver happening, the front 2 to get away. And that's the gap that they've got. Look at that. They're down that back straight away. Michael Stephen just sitting comfortable behind Verheul at this stage. He could probably sit there all day long and he'll wait for about 13th or 14th lap before he makes a maneuver.
I don't think Michael's that kind of driver. I think he's going to have a go straight away as early as he possibly can. He can't handle just sitting behind someone, I don't think. And the more they box, the closer Jonathan Peters is going to get. So hopefully they do box up here in the front.
Oh, looks like they're going to go for it. There you go. Ooh, Verhel's cart's a bit squirrely for me, hey? Every time he climbs on the anchors, it looks like it's getting out of shape there, but it seems to be working for him. He's going with like a bit of a Gary McCoy slide king style. Slide it into the corner and pull out and get the drive, and that's exactly, seems to be paying off really nicely for him.
Well, that's the old school way of driving these carts. Throw the back out to get the wheel to lift and get the thing turned in as quick as possible, and it seems to be working out for him.
Yeah, he's gone back to that old school style of driving, that's for sure. Lap 11 of 15 now, and situation pretty much the same with one change up, and that's the fact that the 313 of Peterson has closed in on the top two. So it's a three-way battle now for the next 4 laps to complete heat number 2 here of Max 175s.
See, throwing the cart like that makes it very, very wide and very difficult to stick the nose in. So a late lunge from Michael's going to be difficult unless it's going to be a late and a brave one.
Well, it's definitely going to have to be a brave one, because I think he's going to try and catch Nick out when he does a big slide. Now, remember, that's the old school of driving we've been speaking about. And, of course, with the old school style kart here, it's kind of reminiscent of 20 years ago when Rotex first started things out. And they started to play around with the likes of Gavin and Mark Cronier and all of our world final champions that came through the ranks. It's definitely great to have this class. And I think when the likes of those two drivers, just to mention two, get wind of it, we maybe get a couple of extra drivers to come into play. Not only here, but maybe in DD2 as well.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see a Robert Briggs, Leroy Poult, and the rest of them joining this fight. It'll be like me growing up watching these oaks racing when I was in Junior Max racing in this class, and this is where I learnt my craft from, watching these boys race in this class.
Didn't work for you though.
No, I clearly didn't learn enough.
No, I'm kidding. You've learned a hell of a lot, bud. As they go down into golf club again. I'm looking here going, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't learn a thing. Michael Stephen doesn't know how to drive. I'll come and show him how to drive. There you go. Now I've put it out there. Michael Stephen, I'm waiting for that phone call.
I think I need to go learn some more. I'll come join them just to learn a bit more.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, I can learn a lot from you, so you can show me, and then we can show them as they come on into turn 1 again. Listen, I'll tell you something. This race they're putting on, though, is one of the best we've seen. 3 karts in it, and there's nothing between the 3 of them.
There's that brave dive.
It had to come at some stage.
Oh, and it's allowed Jonathan Peterson through, and he's looking on the inside of Michael. That was all sorts of bravery, but it's lost Michael away in the front now. So Jonathan just getting a little bit too excited there, looking for the win, and it's given Michael just a little bit of breathing space as they head down the back straight.
Might be enough here. Only a couple of laps to go. Could be enough just to keep them out. Peterson's going to try and use that advantage that he's just been able to get over Verhel to try and bridge the gap now and get away. Not easy to do, though. Not easy to do as they come through the chicane. Across the line one more time. And this is where things are going to heat up. I think Peterson is now, yes, he's dropped Verhel. There's an equidistant gap there between the 3 karts out front where you could have thrown the proverbial blanket over them a lap ago. And now they're starting to fight things out. Michael Stephen has dropped the hammer. He is getting away and opening up that margin. He's not going to allow the 313 any opportunity for this race win in heat number 2. And coming to the checkered flag, he's done it to perfection. Timing is so crucial in these races. He waited for the right opportunity, got through on Verhel, and then just put his head down and got away. Peterson went with him, as you said, tried a little maneuver to try and get through there early on. Didn't quite work out, but what a great finish to this one for Jonathan Peterson. There you can see high fives from the 2 drivers. They know they've worked hard. They put on a good show as well. And Verhel won't be too unhappy with 3rd place after having a great battle with some of SA's finest karters. So final results there coming to Michael Stephen ahead of Jonathan Peterson. He will take 2nd place. Nick Verhel comes through for 3rd place. A good drive from him. And then it was Erwin Stern just off the back end there. Pity he lost out, but a bit of grass tracking cost him there. Jordan and Stephen, 5 and 6.
Michael, I see you're the new chairman of Rubbing is Racing.
Yeah, I mean, the second race was a little bit better for me. But yeah, I think what was important, all the races have been clean. We've come a long way, we've raced a lot together, and I think we respect each other. So, had a good race. Obviously, we might favour that one, but one more to play for.
When you do so many races on the same day, one eventually, somewhere along the line, Rubbing has got to come into it. And that move on the previous heat was quite a very aggressive move. Jono, how did you see that one? Did you expect it?
Which one? The one he did first or the one I did second?
Was it payback?
No.
Okay. Jono, you left him 6 inches.
Yeah, look, I mean,
I took 7.
Yeah, he took 7. Yeah, but look, I mean, that's racing, and you got to take it on the chin and move on. I mean, it was either way, it's a move, and if you're not making a move, you're no longer a racing driver. So.
But guys, and then some of the other guys also came to play for the first few laps.
Yeah, I got a bit hectic, so I gave myself a whole lot of work. So I managed to climb my way back up and get the fastest time, so start on pole, so hopefully I can finish the job.
Well, let's get this job finished up now with 175s going into race number 3. 20 laps, 5 laps more to play, and 5 laps more for these guys. Do you want to give them any more laps to play? I'm not quite sure if that's such a good idea. Peterson got a great start, Steven into second, and Fahel and Stern go side by side into the 180s. Much better start from Jared Jordan this time. He slots in between and almost up the inside of the two CRGs who are fighting together. Michael Steven already applying pressure there on that Tony Kart, trying to find a way to the front end and wants to try and get away. But I think that's what Peterson's plan is to do, is to get away here.
Oh, Fahel was a bit boisterous there with Erwin Stern, dropping him right down to the back of the field here in 6th place. He's going to have to work hard to move himself back up again.
I'll get through on Steven, try and get through on Jared as well as they come through. And I tell you, that's not going to be easy to do. Michael Steven's just lost out. I was going to say Michael Steven looked like he was going to go for first and second, or from second to first, and he dropped from second to third, as Fahel saw and capitalized on a slight mistake there from Michael Steven.
Yeah, the track's been a bit weird now this last heat. It seems to be slipping and sliding all over the place. The track seems to be up and down every lap, different every sector. So a bit difficult for these guys, but I'm sure out of anybody on the circuit, these three can handle it.
I think the wind's dropped ever so slightly, and the temperature might have gone up a little bit as well. That's definitely a factor that's going to be taken into account here. As that, of course, balmy Cape Town weather comes in, it affects not only the track temperature, but the ambient temperature too, which means that the kart engines are going to take a little bit more strain and probably not have the same breathability as they had earlier on in the cooler conditions.
Well, the one that seems to have gotten it right is Nick Fahel, as he catches on the back of Jonathan Peterson there. He's going to be eager to get a move done and get it done early and try and get away from this group.
It's the same three again at the front end. Erwin Stern trying to fight through there, but he hasn't found a way past the Jeff Steven or Jared just yet. And I can tell you, Jared Jordan with a much better run this time. He goes side by side as they go into the 180s there with Jeff Steven and fends him off this time. So they've definitely turned that card around. Nice to see. He'll be happy with the performance now in heat number 3, I'm sure.
Yeah, Michael Stevens there catching up on the back of the two of them as the two of them start fighting in front. Nick needs to be clever and move ahead of Jonathan as quick as possible, and hopefully the two Jonathan and Michael Stevens carry on fighting like they did the previous heat.
Well, the previous heat wasn't as hot, but in terms of lap times, Jonathan Peterson now just setting a new lap record for 175s, getting down into the 42.3s. It's the fastest we've seen these karts get around this track. So track temperature is definitely playing a big factor here, and that's the kind of hotness we like. Whoa, no holds barred. Fahel diving through there and getting onto the dirty stuff. Round the outside, though, Michael Steven capitalized on that maneuver. He saw the two of them run off the track and said, "Thank you very much, I'll take this one." And that's not what you want to do with Michael Steven.
Yeah, the both of them hooking up there, just push them off the rubber. And now once you get off the rubber, there's no grip on the outside, so they have to struggle hard to keep their karts in the circuit. And that's just allowed Michael Stevens the lead and a big gap.
A big gap that they're going to have to try and work together now. They can't fight. They've got to work together, even though they're from separate teams. They've got to work as one and use the driftability of those two karts to get through and get back to that gap that Michael Steven has opened up. And he literally put the hammer down. As soon as he saw that maneuver, he saw them go off the line. He said, right, now I've got to put in the hard work to try and open up a nice, comfortable and manageable gap at the front end.
Yeah, if he just keeps it tidy and consistent, he'll be able to... Oh, Jonathan Peterson going off again. So there's obviously something on the circuit there in between those 180s that's maybe a bit of oil down from a previous heat or a bit of radiator fluid that's gone down somewhere on that circuit that the guys are struggling with there.
Could be because of the two of them pulling all that rubbish on the first time they went through there. There's a lot of debris on the track though, that's for sure, particularly in that second 180. Now let's see if they're able to keep it all together now. We got lap 5 of 20, so we're a quarter of the way through this race, and there is still nothing in it between second and third place. Battle at the back though starting to heat up because you can see Erwin Stern, now he's got back into a rhythm. He's slowly but surely starting to reel in Jared Jordan, and Jared Jordan unfortunately has lost a little bit of ground here to Jeff Steven.
Yeah, Erwin, the quicker of the three of them in the last two heats, so let's see if he can capitalize on the pace he's had. But obviously, after two 15-lap heats, it's difficult to stay energized as you get into the third 20-lappers. So maybe fatigue coming into it here.
Yeah, certainly is going to be feeling the effects. And off again! There seems to be a bit of an issue there on those CRGs. They're just not able to stay on the track. But he manages to catch it, fortunately, and gets back on track. But he has pulled a bit of debris onto the track there out of the chicane. Now, let's see if that affects the leaders as they go onto the back straight now. You can see... I was going to say, where's Peterson? Peterson's disappeared. He's gone right out of it. And it's now Fahel and Steven fighting for the lead and for a potential win here and the overall for the day as well.
Yeah, so Peterson obviously struggling with some set of changes they made between the heats that isn't working for the 20-lapper. But Nick Verheul obviously done something right, because he's pulled right back onto the back of Michael Stevens towards the midway of this race.
Steven definitely going to be in a bit of threat here, because Verheul looks dangerous. He said his cart looks pretty set and good to go, other than the one error he made right at the start to allow Michael to get ahead. But now that he's closed back down again, he certainly looks like he's the more dangerous of the two. And there's a mover. Oh, what a maneuver. Great and superbly done.
Good drive there out of the second 180 and just drove it up the inside off the apex. I haven't seen that done very often, so great move from Nick Verheul there as they came out of the second 180.
I'm probably using that old school kind of driving that you need for this. He did like fling it in there a little bit and get it a bit sideways, which gave him the drive out there. So now, can he keep it all together? Still a long way to go, and Michael Stephen will probably think himself, okay, well, I'll give you a little bit of time at the front. Let's see what you can do.
That car to me looks very strong out of the exit of pretty much every corner. Out of everywhere, he's pulling just like half a car length of Michael Stephen. He seems to be building a gap on him at the moment.
Down onto the braking markers, into the 180s they go again. Michael Stephen, as you said, losing about a cart length now. And Verheul just trying to extend. That's all he's got to do. Concentrate. Keep it on the black stuff. Keep it between the two yellow lines. Use this new tarmac and potentially take the third and final win of the day. Final lap about to be started. And look at the gap he's been able to pull. He's done exactly what we asked him to do. Got his head down, started to concentrate, and pulled a little bit of a margin that Michael Stephen didn't have an answer to. And in fact, Michael Stephen, if he's not careful right now, could be in trouble, because Jonathan Peterson is now using that lap record pace to close things down on the last time.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to do, to jet a cart for 20 laps, get it slightly wrong, and towards the end of the race, you're going to be struggling out there, limping along. So it looks like Michael maybe just run a little bit lean there, and now Jonathan Peterson able to catch him closing stages of the race.
Final couple of corners to go here. They go through Golf Club. And as they come through there, Peterson's closed in, but I don't think he's going to get past. Michael will know exactly where to place that cart so that there's no maneuver through the chicane. Verheul is going to take the final win of the day. Super effort from him. Comes across the line there and eventually beats him out by only 1.7 seconds. But Michael Stephen eventually only across the line by 1/10 of a second quicker. And Verheul taking the win ahead of Michael Stephen and Jonathan Peterson. Jared Jordan, best finish for him on the day, finishing up in 4th place, beating out Owen Stern and Jeff Stephen.
If they allowed you to do mini max and junior max today, would you have done both races?
No.
Because you did everything else.
Yeah, no, I would definitely not have changed it. Had a few issues in the DD2 class today. Guys were racing quite rough and ended up bending an axle in the second heat. My throttle got stuck open in one of the fastest corners, hit the tire wall, bent the rail, and we were in such a hurry to put it back together. We checked the front end was right, but we didn't check the rail, and it was bent, so it was quite difficult to drive, and I crashed again. So DD2 was a day to forget, but we had good pace when everything was working. And in the 175, it was also issues with the cart again. So maybe doing 2 classes, I need to get extra hands.
The racing today, right across the board, was great. A lot of physical racing, and it seems like the new surface here is very nice, but it was dirty offline. Yeah. You could not go off a line. It was very single line around some corners.
Yeah, the track was awesome on the racing line. The minute you stepped half a foot off the racing line or try to pass somebody, it took you 2-3 corners before you could have your full grip back again. So the racing was hard because guys had to stay on that racing line.